Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. Merry bloody Christmas. Oh, did I say bloody? I did. Merry Christmas. It's just a few days before Santa comes down the chimney. Only problem is I don't have a chimney. Oh, well, I'm sure he'll find his way into my little abode here. And as a Christmas present, Tony, Truth Bomb Tony, is back. Tony Locantro from Alto Capital. Always love chatting to him. It's our fortnightly catch-up, but we won't be catching up now until I think it's about the 9th of January, because we all need a little bit of a break. But I want to wish you all out there that watch us every fortnight a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Stay safe, don't drink too much, and make sure lift the weights, go for the walks. I did 14-kilometer walk this morning, and that's what I plan to do every single day between now and the new year. So watch this space. Tony Locantro, yay. Merry Christmas to you, sir. How are you doing?
Oh, it's certainly been an annus horribilis. and I think the final kick was I was watching the World Cup with my 14-year-old son, that wonderful game. And me, my daughter, and my other son had $10 on France to win $1,000 each.
Oh,
ouchies. And it gets to the penalties, and that Argentinian keeper was just too good. I honestly think the French looked disinterested the whole game. Their body language, as soon as they started, I thought, we're gone. I had no inclination I was going to win that better promotion, but they just looked disinterested. Argentina played with spirit, and they deserved to win. And frankly, yeah, I would have taken the $3,000 and run, but the better team won. So that just tops off a monumentally shitty year where nothing was recognised, and the world just went batshit crazy. And yeah, I've never worked so hard to go backwards, but the hard work's been done. We're all set. I'm very bullish on the fundamentals of our companies. I just play the same playbook each year, which I've been doing for 24, and eventually I hone in on it. But some years the market might reward us 150%. The next year we're down 50%. So a lot of events out of my control. We had 8 interest rate increases in Australia in a row, which is shocking.
And more to come.
The Bank of Japan today sent the market into a bit of a tailspin with their interest rate policy. And I think on every level, social, economic, this political, this is tough times. And I honestly think that there's little respite going into 2023. And probably the biggest risk, Kerry, is that with the lack of interest in small cap stocks, raising money is going to get much more difficult. I think a lot of companies are pretty much going to have to stop drilling or stop looking for rare earth projects on the moon. I just think things are going to slow up, and the market will get back to fundamentals. So I think there'll be less to look at next year. So I think, as always, as you said in the intro, fundamentals always come to the fore, and hopefully these 6 stocks I'm really going to focus on in today's chat only takes a couple of them to come off.
Okay, so, because we did promise our wonderful audience out there, our beautiful community, that you were going to talk about stocks this week. Now, I'm just going to make mention, because you said tough times in 23, people may stop drilling. I'm going to throw one out there because I've just done an interview with them, and that's Alto Metals. They've done a cap raise, and they've got their strategy for 23, which was going to be a lot of drilling. So no problems with that. And by the way, not financial advice, do your own research. But it was really interesting having a chat with their managing director, Matthew Bowles, because he said, you know, we've done the cap raise, we've raised the money, we're funded, and we are. And you know, as you know, Tony, how do you find stuff? You got to drill. And it was interesting. One of his comments was, "Why would you leave gold to find gold?" Love that.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Let's get into what your ones.
Alto Metals, no relation to Alto Capital.
That's a good point.
And as I mentioned pre-show, my clients had a great fling with Alto Metals. That stock overshot to the upside. We took profits, but thanks for the heads up. I think that whole region could be in for some consolidation. So you're absolutely right about companies that are prepared to drill, but a lot of small caps out there they might have acquired a project, but as I said, they're just going to tiptoe through the tulips until the next bandwagon comes along. But hopefully it's a little better than this year, especially for the biotechs, because I know that the EV stocks have come off severely in the last few weeks, and I wouldn't wish the year us biotech investors have had for anyone else in the sector, because it's just been brutal and nowhere to hide.
Nowhere to hide. All right, you want to get stuck into some of the stocks that you are going to mention today and why you like them?
I've put together a list of companies. I normally have a much bigger list, and this year we had a few. We had a bit of rotation, but yeah, honestly, probably one of my worst on the scoreboard. So these 6, I believe, could have transformational announcements and news flow next year with events that could make a real difference to the share price. And I make it perfectly known, Maronan Metals is one of my biggest positions. We have a shit ton of stock in Maronan Metals. I think we account for about 15% of the register. They're drilling the Maronan resource near Cloncurry. It's about 15 k's away. And it has copper gold and it has lead silver. And one of their deep holes would be about 1 kilometre down at the moment, and they're looking for Cannington-style mineralisation. They do have 100 million ounces of silver. In their last announcement, they've said that this ore is soft and it could be suitable for bulk mining. So I believe it's undervalued. The drilling to date is going well with a few surprises. And if they hit more mineralisation at depth, I think the valuation could run from about the 40 mil cap into the hundreds of millions if it's successful. And the other part I like about Maronan is its corporate appeal in that region and a resource that I think someone will mine. And I mentioned to Red Metal, who own 50% of Maronan. So those two probably my main mining plays.
Okay, now, before you go on, the ASX code for Maronan is?
Mike Alpha. I'll use phonetics instead of Wheel of Fortune language. And the code for Red Metal is Romeo Delta Mike. So, yeah, let's do the codes. Maronan's about 25 cents. Red Metal is in the low to mid 7s. I actually offered my 3 kids the stock or cash option for Christmas. They all chose stocks, which was good. So, yeah, I ended up picking up some more Maronan for them today, actually. So I try and teach them early rather than give them money that they'll just spend on rubbish anyway. So that's the first one. Looking at biotechs, well, this has probably been the worst year I can remember. But I really like proteomics. Code is Papa, India, Quebec. They're trading around 87 cents. Now, they have a letter of intent with Sonic Healthcare in the US for their ProMarker D test for diabetic kidney disease, which picks it up to 4 years before it happens. It is the gold standard of tests. NICE in the UK are going to suggest it to their clinicians as well. So if this letter of intent can translate into a solid distribution agreement, I think the upside on this stock is immense. Morgans have placed a $1.77 target on it with a speculative buy recommendation. I really like management here. I think Richard Lipscomb has done an exceptional job. And coming up behind all that is a blood test for endometriosis, which showed some positive early signs, and esophageal cancer with a few steps away from acid reflux. So a lot to watch with that one. The stock trades by appointment on some days, but that's probably one of my main biotech hopes. A stock I haven't talked about too much, we had a previous relationship with it, is Dimerix. Code is Delta, X-Ray, Bravo. They're trading around 15 cents. They're in a phase 3 trial. They've recruited 72 patients around the world for FSGS. It's a rare kidney disease with orphan drug status. And we're in phase 3. And we should have a readout in the latter half of 2023. Obviously, they'll be monitoring how the volunteers are going up until that point. But there really hasn't been any true advances in kidney treatment for about 20 years. And FSGS is really a bitch of a disease because ultimately it leads to a kidney transplant. Mm-hmm. They do have some other developments, mainly with diabetic kidney disease along the way, and they are in partnering discussions. And an interesting point I picked up, Kerry, was that they said they're not appointing a sales and marketing team. They're looking at partnering. And if this drug is successful in phase 3, based on the fact it does have orphan drug status, it can be commercialized quickly. We rode this stock on its previous run. The weakness was the phase 2 that was as expected but didn't excite, and a fat finger error from a broker when that news came out. So Dimerix, another one of our big biotech hopes. The next stock is Radiopharm. Code is Romeo, Alpha, Delta. They're trading at 10.5 cents. Kamal used to say, why are people so unkind? Well, this has been a punching bag in the biotech sector. They actually announced positive imaging news on HER2, which is aggressive breast cancer, where the imaging certainly is encouraging. And they also announced positive news on brain mets as well. So 2 great announcements, yet they announced a 14-cent capital raise with a free option, and the stock has struggled ever since. And in fact, it probably rang the bell for the biotech sector when it floated at 60 cents. So around 10.5, 11 cents. Ricardo Canaveri came all the way from New Jersey. I met with him. I went through the company's prospects. They do have one of the richest pipelines in the Australian biotech sector. And a Diamond Research report came out and put 70 cents on them. But that's subject to success. So again, if you have the stomach for risk, these biotech stocks are certainly, if they're not at rock bottom, they're not far from it. In keeping with the biotech theme, Narada, code is November, Yankee, Romeo. You can buy these for 14 cents. I guess with Christmas upon us, healthy eating gets thrown out. We tend to go for that unhealthy lifestyle, and cholesterol comes back. I know that every time I talk about this stock, the cholesterol conspiracy theory gets brought up again, and people say, well, you can reduce your cholesterol through diet and exercise, but let's face it, people won't start their New Year's resolutions till about March. So, no, it's true, isn't it? It's true. Procrastination, I have a joke in my house. We say calorie restriction starts Monday, and you just keep saying that, and eventually you'll start with it. But what I've found is, to get me through this shitty year, the best thing I've done is become addicted to the gym. So
good.
It's a healthy addiction. It's a healthy addiction, and I'm actually going to have a dry January, believe it or not.
Oh.
Well, why not? But
Why
back to
don't you just
cholesterol.
do what
Yep.
I do, Tony? Take
Well,
3 or even 4 and sometimes 5 days where you just go, I'm not going to drink today.
but who drinks during the week? I don't know. I'm just not one of these types that just can crack a bottle and start drinking. But anyway, I will get back to the point about Narada. So this PCSK9 inhibitor will
Yes.
be taken by healthy volunteers and those with high cholesterol. This will be in the clinic next year. They're also looking at traumatic brain injury drugs with the Walter Reed. I always get this mixed up. Army Institute of Research in the US, WRI, whatever. And they'll be looking at pills for mainly concussion and brain injuries. So
Massive.
if this inhibitor works, I think this stock has a massive future. It's got a great board. They've managed their cash well. And if you go onto the Narada site, I interviewed James Bonner on why they pivoted with their cholesterol trial. And yes, certainly well worth following up. So that's the fifth stock. And the sixth stock is we all dream of that big win. We all dream of one Powerball and we're out of here. Copper Search. Code is Charlie Uniform Sierra. They are terribly illiquid. So it's a bit of a lobster pot, even though you might struggle to get in. If you're trying to trade it, good luck. They have a heap of ground out at Peak and Denison, which is in South Australia, with the geological theory that it's similar to the prolific Cloncurry copper region. Dermatalica, which is no longer because they got taken out by AIC Mines, drilled a couple of scout holes and got some copper sniffs. So if there's any more sniffs, I reckon there could be a bit of a land grab out at Peak and Denison. Copper Search have some great ground. They have some shallow targets. They have some deep targets. And we're not going to die wondering next year. But that's the type of stock where you can make 4, 5, 10 times your money or halve it. But that's the odds you play. And we've seen throughout this year that there have been some major discoveries and you can sell into that frenzy, but these stocks do come back. If you cannot maintain that momentum and you lift the bar too high with exploration results, yep, you're going to have a nasty pullback. And I look at Galileo today back at 75 cents, where, yeah, it was trading around $1.90, $1.70, $1.90 for some time. And what I have noticed is that once the excitement dies down a bit, it's hard to regain momentum. And
sorry to interrupt you, Tony, but it could also be with, aren't they, that's the Raleigh Finlayson one, isn't it?
No, this is the PGE. Raleigh Finlayson, he's Genesis St. Barbara.
Yep.
Yeah, he's trying to put together another serious mid-tier gold company, which is quite interesting because I think we're going to see more consolidation in the gold industry because why spend all those years discovering, getting environmental approvals when you can simply go and buy ounces and take people out? But my point is that you need to be able to sell into that exploration frenzy. And regardless of fundamentals, what I've found is, especially in the biotechs, once you're on the nose, you seem to stay there for some time. And I'm hopeful that next year that it gets back to fundamentals. My companies finally get appreciated and others can experience a bear market because it's not nice. And it's certainly, low share prices beget low share prices. And you can tell by talking to people, there's no enthusiasm. there's no excitement. But if anything, 2022 has been one heck of a year of accumulation, and we're ready to go. So anyway, they are my top 6 stocks with potential news that could transform the companies next year. There's certainly a lot of other stocks I follow. And I must reiterate, Kerry, that non-inclusion doesn't mean that they're not good companies. I've thought, well, let's look at 6 serious small cap stocks. And I'd suggest, or I'm hoping that portfolio outperforms any others.
Yeah, and look, it's the Christmas stocking edition, ladies and gentlemen, if you like, but it's not financial advice. So if you want to do a deep dive into it, I suggest that you reach out to Tony. Am I allowed to share your email address with people?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I'm not having a holiday. Things are quiet. If anyone's serious, Tony at
altocapital.com.au, I think it is. Is that right?
Correct.
So, if you want to do a deep dive, if you want to ask Tony, send him an email, tell him that you're far too busy surfing the waves, and can he do all the hard work for you because he's not going to have a break, and he'll help you out there. But as always, this is not financial advice. Please do your own research. But one of the things you mentioned before, Tony, was Copper Search down in South Australia. One of the ones that I quite like, I'm not a broker, but Barton Gold is also down there with their Tarcoola and their Tunkilia projects, which they're starting to pull together. And they've got a mill there. They've got all sorts of things. And what I like about them is the managing director, Alex Scanlon. He understands the financial side of it, and he's really keeping not only a tight capital structure, but the treasury. He's managed to pull in some revenue, so he doesn't have to continually go back to the market. And I like the way he's pulling this all together to become quite a strong, something that others couldn't do. He's managing to pull it all together with some quite strong results. So just what I like. BGD, I think, is the stock code. Tell me if I'm wrong. I remember I did get it wrong once.
Yeah, you can't do that. And I'm actually on their mailing list. I read all his announcements.
Yep.
I watch his presentations. That's an impressive company.
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree totally with you. I know those assets were the old Minotaur had those assets as well. So they have gone through that process. But he's been selling assets off. He's been maintaining a strong cash position. Certainly very, very impressive. But I must admit, I have not put that stock to clients. But there's hundreds of companies, and I do have other lists that I follow closely. And I'm just trying to really focus on these 6, but always mindful that, but I think that stock has danced sideways for a while. But it is, I guess, for viewers out there, if you're looking for a quality junior up-and-comer, that's certainly one of them. And as far as quarterly reports go, I still think Red Metal released one of the best quarterly reports, even though he hasn't had that Powerball hole. And 19 years listed, plenty of cycles, but at the moment, the stock's struggling and it's cheap till it isn't. But I think one of the good exercises over the break, when I get a couple of forced days off, is to attack the financial review with a highlighter, look at stocks I may have missed. And I guess you just got to reassure clients that, this has been an absolute shocker, but you can't duck and weave the volatility. You cannot you got to take the hits. And part of being exposed to 10 baggers is getting cut in half and then some, and feeling stupid on some days. And that's just the way speculation goes. If you're not suited to it, as I have a saying, it's often the right stock, wrong person.
Yeah, and the wonderful story when I was chatting with Rick Rule earlier this year was when he went into the uranium stock run by John Borshoff. Remind me of it. What was it? Paladin. And Paladin was at 10 cents. And Mr. Rule goes into, backs up the truck. He really believes in the uranium story. He likes what John Borshoff has got to say and do. And he bought a lot of stock. That stock went down to 1 cent. And what Rick Rule said is, he said nothing changed except for the psychology and the sentiment of the market was at all-time lows. So what did he do? He backed the truck up again, and that stock went from 1 cent up to, I think it was $10.72. Now, listen, they're not all going to do that. And obviously, Rick Rule, very smart. He knew how to, I guess, unpack the balance sheet, understand exactly what it was that they had with the properties in Namibia, which is where it was. And yes, he did very well. You're not all going to do that well, and you have to do your homework. But as I said before, or reach out to Tony and let him do the homework for you while you're surfing the waves at Bondi. But if at the end of the day, you got to do your homework. And as Warren Buffett often says, one of the key things that he does is he reads. Tony just said a moment ago, if he has a rare day off, he will get that highlighter pen and he will pull apart the Australian Financial Review and have a look at stocks and do his own research. Do not listen to great Aunt Bessie who says, oh, I hear this is a good stock. Wrong way to go about it. What you do is you do your own research, you get the right team around you, you figure out who's out there and who's going to potentially be having a really good stock run in the future. But as Tony says all the time, they're not all going to come off. And small caps is risky.
And going back to Paladin, I remember the day it was 0.8%, because one of my clients helped save Paladin from going under. A client who was trading in Hawaii, of all places. But to hold on to a gain like that, you either have to be in a coma or in prison without internet access. So, or you have to be able to hold this shit, or don't open your mail. I know clients that don't open their mail. They find stuff. Mind you, they have their utilities cancelled. But really, to buy stock at 1 cent, you probably felt you're a genius at 2 to 5 cents. And it did max out well over $10.50. Yeah. But that uranium bubble, equity-wise, was second to .com, which was pure insanity. And uranium was next level relative, but the time gap between .com and uranium was like 4 years.
Yeah, but Tony, I think right now, everyone knows that I'm known as that gold lady. I run the gold conference. Yes. Love gold, love silver, love precious metals. But right now, as governments around the world are fixated on the green revolution, are fixated on net zero, there's zero carbon emissions from uranium. So I can see the energy crisis will get worse. There'll come a moment in time where governments around the world will suddenly say, you know what, we got to go nuclear, in a positive way, not a negative way. And I think that some, not all, but some of these stocks will do very well in this future-looking metals arena, if you like, and at zero carbon emissions and an energy crisis. Put one and one together and come up with a 15, if you like. What's your view on uranium at the moment?
I'm certainly positive. We deserted the sector because the stocks went too high too quick. We've been focusing on basin energy in the Athabasca Basin in Canada. But I say to my clients, if you want money flow stocks, you either buy Paladin or Deep Yellow. Good luck trying to value them, because that'll just be the scene of institutional money flow. But at the moment, apart from these people showing up at a party holding a vegan pizza, the late backdoor companies that are backdooring in assets, we could be trendless early next year. And again, let's get back to fundamentals. But who knows where the hot money is going to go. It's hard to feel a bubble until you're in it. I think let's just have a massive gold and silver bubble, and it's every investor for themselves. That would be a lot of fun. And but anyway, it's certainly been tough unless you've had a free ride on some of these EV stocks. But and I actually think that those that took stock tips late last year have probably had a great year, because high prices beget high prices. These things are rumor driven. You'll pick them up at social events, and these things just keep running. But anyway, hopefully my year and our year in 2023.
All righty. We're going to wrap this up now, but before we do, I'm just going to make a note that Tony just mentioned the gold and the silver. The Australian Gold Conference will be back on the 29th and 30th of August in 2023 at Crown in Sydney. You can go to goldevents.com.au to register for that. I think the timing of that with gold stocks will be very interesting. Also, there are other ways to get involved with gold. But Tony, I'm going to leave the last word to you. You wrap it up for 2022 to our gorgeous community out there. From Truth Bomb, Tony, final message from you.
I guess stay safe over the break. Maybe have a few drinks at home and try and fall in love with your investments again. Just
do your own research.
Do your own research. Try and fall in love with them again, and don't chase all the pretty girls because they're only going to let you down.
There you go. Tony, as always, it's been a fantastic year chatting with you. We'll chat to you again. I think it's about the 9th of January that we're back. But in the meantime, to you over there in the West, thank you for your time in 2022. Really appreciate the time you gave us over the year. And I look forward to a 2023. Who knows what it will bring us? But for now, Merry Christmas to you and yours, and to all of our beautiful community out there. Stay safe. Have a happy Christmas. We'll see you in 23.